So what if I told you that the craziest, most mind-blowing technology you've ever seen in a sci-fi movie is actually becoming a reality, like right now? We're talking about weapons that can travel faster than a bullet from a sniper rifle, planes that are practically invisible, and armies of robots that can think for themselves. It sounds like something out of a blockbuster film, but this is the real-life, cutting-edge world of military technology, and today, we are diving deep into it. My name is Shoaib, and I am ridiculously excited to take you on this journey. We're going to break down the science, the engineering, and the absolutely wild implications of these game-changing inventions. We're going to cover a ton of ground today, peeling back the curtain on some of the most classified and fascinating projects out there. We'll start with hypersonic missiles. These things are so fast they make traditional defense systems look like they're standing still. Then, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of stealth technology, figuring out how you make a 35,000-pound jet disappear from radar. From there, we'll explore everything from drone swarms and laser cannons to the militarization of space and even the ethics of creating biologically enhanced super soldiers. It's a look into the future of warfare, and trust me, it's both awe-inspiring and a little bit terrifying. This isn't just about cool gadgets and explosions though. Understanding this tech is crucial because it's shaping the world we live in, influencing global politics, and defining what security means in the 21st century. So, buckle up because we're about to go on a wild ride. And you'll definitely want to stick around until the very end because I have a special message and a little something I want to share with all of you who make it through this deep dive. Let's get into it. Alright, first up, let's talk about something that fundamentally breaks the rules of modern warfare: hypersonic missiles. So what does hypersonic even mean? Well, anything that travels at Mach 5 or faster that's 5 times the speed of sound. To put that in perspective, that's over 1 mile per second. Imagine a weapon that could travel from New York City to Los Angeles in under 15 minutes. That's the kind of speed we're dealing with here, and it's an absolute game changer. It's not just about being fast, it's about being so fast that your opponent has almost no time to react. Now you might be thinking, don't we already have fast missiles? What about ballistic missiles? And that's a great question. The key difference is the flight path. A ballistic missile goes way up into space in a predictable arc, kind of like throwing a football really high. Our current defense systems are built to track that arc and intercept the missile. But hypersonic weapons are different. They fly much lower in the atmosphere. And here's the kicker: they can maneuver. They can dodge and weave, making their flight path completely unpredictable. It's like trying to hit a knuckleball thrown at 4,000 miles per hour. There are two main types we're seeing developed. First, you have hypersonic glide vehicles, or HGVs. These are launched from a rocket into the upper atmosphere, and then they detach and glide to their target, surfing on their own shock waves. Then there are hypersonic cruise missiles, which are powered throughout their flight by advanced engines called scramjets. These engines literally suck in the air that's coming at them at supersonic speeds and use it to generate thrust. It's an incredibly complex engineering feat, like trying to light a match in a hurricane and keep it lit. The implications here are massive. This technology compresses the timeline of a conflict from hours or days down to mere minutes. It puts strategic targets at risk in a way they've never been before and creates a huge challenge for even the most advanced missile defense systems. Countries like the United States, Russia, and China are in a full-blown race to develop and deploy these weapons because, in the world of defense, being able to strike faster and more unpredictably than your adversary is the ultimate advantage. The physics behind this is just mind-blowing, and it forces everyone to rethink the very nature of deterrence. Okay, so if you can't outrun your enemy, maybe you can just hide from them. That's the core idea behind stealth technology, and when we talk about stealth, we're usually talking about hiding from radar. So, how does radar work? In simple terms, a radar station sends out radio waves. When these waves hit an object, like an airplane, they bounce back to the station, which can then determine the object's location, speed, and size. It's like shouting in a canyon and listening for the echo. A normal plane is like a giant flat wall to those radio waves. It creates a huge echo. A stealth aircraft like the iconic F-22 Raptor or the F-35 Lightning II is designed to be the worst possible shape for creating an echo. Instead of big flat surfaces and sharp 90-degree angles that bounce radar waves right back to the source, stealth planes are all about weird, sharp angles and smooth, blended curves. The idea is to deflect those incoming radar waves away from the radar dish, sending them off in other directions. It's like replacing that flat wall in the canyon with a bunch of angled mirrors. You might still be shouting, but the echo gets scattered and becomes too faint to hear. But it's not just about the shape, the materials are just as important. Stealth aircraft are coated in a top-secret material called radar-absorbent material, or RAM. This stuff is like a sponge for radio waves. When the radar waves hit the aircraft's skin, the RAM's chemical makeup actually converts a large portion of the electromagnetic energy into a tiny amount of heat, effectively absorbing it. So, what little energy isn't deflected by the plane's shape gets soaked up by its skin. The result is a radar signature that's been reduced from the size of a school bus to, in some cases, the size of a bumblebee. Of course, no aircraft is truly invisible. It's all about reducing the detection range. A conventional fighter might be spotted by radar from 200 miles away, giving the enemy plenty of time to launch a defense. A stealth fighter, on the other hand, might not be detected until it's only 20 miles away. By then, it's often too late. This ability to get in close, strike a target, and get out before the enemy even knows you were there is what makes stealth technology one of the most powerful and sought-after military capabilities in the world. It's a constant cat-and-mouse game of detection and evasion. For a long time, air power meant having a pilot in the cockpit, but that is changing. And it's changing fast thanks to unmanned aerial vehicles, or UAVs, more commonly known as drones. These aren't like the little quadcopters you might fly in your backyard. We're talking about sophisticated high-endurance aircraft that can stay in the air for over 24 hours, controlled by a pilot sitting in a command center thousands of miles away. They've completely revolutionized two key areas of military operations, surveillance and combat. First, let's talk surveillance, or what the military calls ISR, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. Drones like the RQ-4 Global Hawk can fly at altitudes of 60,000 feet, well above commercial air traffic, and use powerful cameras and sensors to monitor huge swaths of territory. They can provide a persistent eye in the sky, watching a target for days on end without putting a pilot at risk or needing to refuel. This constant stream of high-definition video and data gives commanders on the ground an unprecedented level of situational awareness. It's like having a satellite that you can park wherever you want, whenever you want. Then you have the combat side of things. Drones like the MQ-9 Reaper, often called hunter-killers, take this a step further. They carry the same powerful sensors, but they're also armed with precision-guided munitions like Hellfire missiles. This allows them to not only find and track a target, but also to engage it directly. The ability to conduct a strike with this level of precision, from a remote location, has fundamentally altered the calculus of risk in combat. It allows for operations in environments that would be considered too dangerous for manned aircraft. But the evolution isn't stopping there. The next wave is all about autonomy and swarming. Instead of one pilot controlling one drone, we're seeing the development of systems where one operator can command a whole swarm of smaller, cheaper, and more expendable drones. These swarms can work together, communicating with each other to overwhelm enemy defenses, map out an area, or conduct coordinated attacks. It's a shift from a few expensive, exquisite platforms to a large number of cheap, collaborative ones. This is where AI and robotics start to merge, creating a whole new paradigm for air power. Okay, this is where we really start to feel like we're living in the future. For decades, directed energy weapons, lasers, microwaves, particle beams, were the stuff of science fiction. But now, they're becoming a reality on the battlefield. Instead of firing a projectile like a bullet or a missile, these weapons fire pure energy. Let's start with the most prominent type, high-energy lasers. These aren't the little pointers you use in a presentation. We're talking about incredibly powerful, weapons-grade lasers that can burn through steel. So how do they work? A military laser weapon works by focusing an immense amount of light energy onto a very small spot on a target. This rapid concentration of energy heats the target's surface to its melting or boiling point, causing structural failure. Think of it like using a magnifying glass to focus sunlight on a leaf, but on a much more powerful scale. The goal isn't necessarily to create a massive explosion, but to surgically disable a target. You can use a laser to burn out the sensitive electronics of an incoming missile, blind the sensors on a drone, or even disable the engine of a small boat. One of the biggest advantages of laser weapons is their magazine depth. A ship with a missile defense system might only carry a few dozen interceptor missiles. Once they're gone, they're gone. But a laser weapon that's powered by the ship's own electrical grid has a nearly unlimited number of shots, as long as it has power. Plus, each shot costs pennies on the dollar compared to a multi-million-dollar interceptor missile. This makes them an incredibly cost-effective solution for defending against cheap threats like swarms of small drones or rockets. Then you have another type of directed energy weapon, the railgun. A railgun is a bit different. It doesn't use chemical propellants like a traditional cannon. Instead, it uses a massive pulse of electromagnetic energy to accelerate a projectile to incredible speeds. We're talking over Mach 6. It works by passing a huge electrical current through two parallel rails, with the projectile sitting between them. This creates an insane magnetic force that launches the projectile down the rails and out the barrel at hypersonic velocity. The sheer kinetic energy of the projectile upon impact is enough to destroy a target. No explosives needed. It's pure physics, weaponized. We've talked about remote-controlled drones, but what happens when you take the human out of the loop almost entirely? That's the world of lethal autonomous weapon systems, or LAWs. These are weapons that can independently search for, identify, target, and kill human beings without direct human control. This is probably one of the most controversial and ethically fraught areas of military technology we're going to discuss today, and it's developing at a startling pace. Think about it this way: a current drone like the Reaper has a human pilot making the final decision to fire. An autonomous weapon system would have an AI in its place. For example, imagine an autonomous tank that's given a mission: patrol this area and engage any enemy combatants you identify. The tank would then use its sensors and its onboard AI to navigate the terrain, distinguish between friendly forces, enemy combatants, and civilians, and make the life-or-death decision to engage, all on its own. The potential for speed and efficiency is enormous, but so are the risks. One of the most visible forms of this technology is the drone swarm, which we touched on earlier. But let's take it a step further. Imagine a swarm of 100 small drones equipped with facial recognition and small explosive charges, released into a city with the objective to find and eliminate a single person. They would communicate with each other, divide up the city grid, and systematically search until they found their target. This isn't science fiction. The technology to do this is either here or very close. The Pentagon has already demonstrated swarms of over 100 micro-drones being launched from a fighter jet. This raises profound ethical and legal questions. Can an algorithm truly be trusted to make the distinction between a combatant and a civilian in the chaotic fog of war? What happens if the system makes a mistake? Who is responsible? The programmer, the commander who deployed it, the manufacturer? These are the debates happening right now at the highest levels of government and at the United Nations. The development of autonomous weapons represents a true turning point in warfare. A third revolution after gunpowder and nuclear arms. How we choose to manage it will define the future of conflict. While autonomous weapons are the most dramatic application of AI, artificial intelligence is being integrated into warfare in 1,000 other, less visible ways. AI is becoming the digital brain of the modern military, processing information and making recommendations at a speed and scale that no human could ever hope to match. It's less about creating killer robots and more about creating smarter everything. Smarter command centers, smarter logistics, smarter intelligence analysis. One of the biggest areas is predictive analytics and intelligence processing. The military collects an unimaginable amount of data every single day. From satellite imagery, drone feeds, electronic signals, human intelligence reports, you name it. It's far too much for human analysts to sift through effectively. This is where AI comes in. Machine learning algorithms can be trained to pore through this mountain of data, identify patterns, and flag potential threats. For example, an AI could analyze satellite photos and drone footage to detect the early signs of an enemy building up forces for an attack, giving commanders a crucial heads up. AI is also revolutionizing command and control. In a future conflict, the battlefield will be a chaotic storm of information coming from thousands of sensors, on soldiers, in vehicles, in the air, and in space. A human commander could easily be overwhelmed. The Department of Defense is working on a system called JDC2, or Joint All-Domain Command and Control. The goal is to use AI to fuse all of this data into a single, coherent picture of the battlefield. The AI could then recommend the best course of action, for example, suggesting that a specific artillery unit is in the best position to strike a newly identified target. It even extends to things you might not think about, like maintenance and logistics. An AI can monitor the health of an entire fleet of F-35s, analyzing sensor data from each jet to predict when a part is going to fail before it actually breaks. This predictive maintenance can save millions of dollars and, more importantly, ensure that more aircraft are ready to fly when they're needed. From planning missions to supplying troops to fixing jets, AI is becoming the invisible, indispensable backbone of a modern fighting force, making it faster, smarter, and more efficient. Not all wars are fought with bombs and bullets. Some of the most significant conflicts of the 21st century are being fought silently, on a battlefield made of ones and zeros cyberspace. CyberWarfare involves using digital attacks to disrupt, damage, or destroy an enemy's critical infrastructure, military systems, or government functions. And, unlike a physical attack, a cyber attack can be launched from anywhere in the world, often with a high degree of anonymity. It's a potent and increasingly common tool of state power. Perhaps the most famous real-world example of this is Stuxnet. Discovered in 2010, Stuxnet was an incredibly sophisticated computer worm, widely believed to have been created by the United States and Israel. Its target was very specific: the control systems running the centrifuges at Iran's uranium enrichment facilities. The worm secretly infiltrated the network and then subtly manipulated the centrifuges, causing them to spin too fast or too slow, leading to their physical destruction. The Iranian operators had no idea what was happening. Their control screens showed everything was normal. It was a physical attack carried out entirely through code. But the threat extends far beyond just military targets. Modern societies are deeply dependent on interconnected digital systems. A hostile state could launch a cyber attack aimed at a nation's power grid, causing widespread blackouts. They could target the financial system, crippling banks and the stock market. They could disrupt transportation networks, water treatment facilities, or communication systems. We saw a glimpse of this in 2015 and 2016 when hackers, allegedly linked to Russia, successfully shut down parts of Ukraine's power grid, leaving hundreds of thousands of people in the dark and cold. This creates a brand new front in any potential conflict. Before a single shot is fired, a country might try to soften up its adversary by blinding their radar systems, shutting down their communications, and sowing chaos in their civilian infrastructure through cyber attacks. Defending against this is incredibly difficult. It requires constant vigilance, sophisticated security systems, and a deep pool of cyber talent. The battle for digital supremacy is happening right now every single day, and the stakes could not be higher. For decades, space was seen as a peaceful domain, primarily for scientific exploration and commercial satellites. But that's changing. Space is now widely considered the next major warfighting domain, right alongside land, sea, air, and cyberspace. The reason is simple. Modern militaries are utterly dependent on space-based assets. GPS satellites provide precise navigation for troops and targeting for smart bombs. Communication satellites provide the vital link between commanders and forces on the ground. Spy satellites provide critical intelligence. Because of this dependence, space assets have also become tempting targets. The ability to deny an adversary the use of their satellites could be a decisive advantage in a conflict. This has led to the development of a whole new class of weapons, anti-satellite weapons, or ASATs. These can take several forms. There are kinetic kill weapons, which are essentially missiles launched from the ground or from an aircraft that physically collide with a satellite and destroy it. Russia, China, the United States, and India have all demonstrated this capability, but you don't have to physically destroy a satellite to disable it. There are non-kinetic options as well. You can use a high-powered laser from the ground to dazzle or permanently blind the sensitive optics of a spy satellite. You can use powerful jammers to disrupt the signals coming from GPS or communication satellites, rendering them useless. There's even the concept of co-orbital ASATs, where a country launches a killer satellite that can maneuver in orbit and approach an enemy satellite to inspect, jam, or disable it. The big problem with all of this, especially the kinetic weapons, is space debris. When you blow up a satellite, you create a cloud of thousands of pieces of shrapnel, all traveling at orbital speeds of 17,500 miles per hour. This debris doesn't just go away. It stays in orbit for years, even decades, posing a threat to every other satellite, including your own, as well as the International Space Station and future space missions. The race to control the high ground of space is on, but it's a race that carries the risk of polluting our orbits and making space unusable for everyone. So far we've talked about changing the weapons of war, but what about changing the warrior? This is the realm of military biotechnology, and it's where the science gets really personal and the ethics get incredibly complex. The goal here is to enhance the performance of the individual soldier. making them stronger, faster, more resilient, and more effective on the battlefield. This isn't about creating Captain America, but about pushing the boundaries of human potential using science. One area of active research is in pharmaceuticals and bioregulators. Scientists are exploring drugs that could allow soldiers to stay awake and alert for days on end without the negative side effects of current stimulants. They're looking at compounds that could accelerate healing, allowing a soldier to recover from an injury much faster. There's even research into drugs that could temporarily erase fear or enhance cognitive functions like memory and decision-making under stress. The idea is to give soldiers a physiological edge in the high-stakes environment of combat. Another, more futuristic area is the development of exoskeletons. These are wearable robotic suits that can augment a soldier's strength and endurance. An exoskeleton could allow a soldier to carry hundreds of pounds of gear over long distances without fatigue, or to lift heavy objects that would normally require a team of people. While current prototypes are still a bit clunky and power-hungry, the technology is advancing rapidly. The end goal is to create a seamless fusion of human and machine that multiplies a soldier's physical capabilities. But this is also where we run into some of the most profound ethical questions. Is it right to genetically modify a human being for warfare? What are the long-term health consequences of these enhancements? And then there's the dark side, bioweapons. The same biotechnology that can be used to heal and enhance can also be used to create terrifying new pathogens. Imagine a virus engineered to be highly contagious, but to only affect people with a specific genetic marker. The potential for misuse is staggering, which is why there are strong international treaties banning biological weapons. It's a field of immense promise and immense peril. So, we've looked at all these individual pieces of technology: hypersonics, stealth, AI, drones, lasers. Now let's try to imagine what a future battlefield might look like when you put them all together. It's a vision of warfare that is faster, more connected, more automated, and more complex than anything we've ever seen before. The fog of war might be replaced by a storm of data, and the key to victory will be who can process that data and act on it the fastest. Picture this. A conflict begins not with a bang, but with a silent cyber attack that cripples the enemy's command centers and power grid. At the same time, from halfway around the world, hypersonic glide vehicles are launched, streaking towards key air defense sites. They arrive in minutes, their maneuverability making them nearly impossible to stop. With the defenses down, stealth bombers and fighters, invisible to what's left of the enemy's radar, move in to strike high-value targets. They aren't alone. They are acting as motherships, launching swarms of autonomous drones. These drone swarms become the eyes and ears of the battlefield. They flood the area, mapping out enemy positions in real time, identifying targets, and feeding that information back into a massive AI-powered network. On the ground, robotic combat vehicles or robot soldiers advance, supported by human soldiers in powered exoskeletons. The AI network analyzes the data from the swarms and instantly assigns targets. A naval destroyer, 100 miles offshore, receives a command from the AI and fires its railgun, sending a projectile screaming towards a target that was identified by a drone just seconds earlier. Meanwhile, orbiting satellites are fighting their own battle. Anti-satellite weapons are trying to blind the enemy's network, while defensive systems, perhaps powerful lasers, are trying to shoot them down. And a new piece of tech might make stealth obsolete quantum radar. In theory, quantum radar could use the strange properties of quantum entanglement to detect even the stealthiest aircraft. The future battlefield is a fully integrated, multi-domain system of systems, where victory is determined by algorithms and network speed as much as by bravery and firepower. It's a truly mind-boggling vision of the future. Wow, okay, that was a lot. From weapons that move at a mile a second to AI brains that command the entire battlefield, the technology of warfare is evolving at a truly incredible rate. It's easy to get caught up in how cool the science and engineering is, and believe me, as a nerd, I find it absolutely fascinating. But it's also a little sobering to think about the real-world implications of everything we've talked about today. These aren't just concepts in a lab, they are systems that are shaping global security and will define the nature of conflict for generations to come. My goal with this video wasn't to glorify war, but to peel back the curtain on the technology that so often remains hidden from public view, and to get you thinking. And now, for that special message I promised. The reason I make videos like this is because I believe that understanding the world around us, the science, the tech, the good and the bad, is the first step to making it a better place. And the fact that you stuck around for this entire deep dive tells me you believe that too, so thank you seriously. Your curiosity and your desire to learn are what make this all worthwhile. If you found this as fascinating as I did and you want to keep exploring the intersection of science, technology, and our world, please do all the YouTube things. Hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and maybe share it with someone else who you think would find it interesting. It really helps the channel out. We've got more deep dives planned, looking at everything from the future of space exploration to the engineering behind mega projects. Thanks again for watching, and as always, stay curious.